Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, I'm Alex. This is the Ramble. That's what it says, so it's got to be so. And we're here till midnight Eastern Daylight Time on the west coast of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, the smiling face you see in front of you is coming to us. Is coming to us from the smoky environs of Lake Oswego, Oregon. Boy, you have had some problems there, haven't you?
Tell me. I don't know how long we can go today because I'm having trouble breathing.
We'll go as long as you can. We don't have to do all 25 minutes. We can do 15 because that's what I normally do with everybody else but because you're special, I give you 25.
This is interesting for 25.
Yeah. To begin with, you have COPD, which is greatly affected by this. In fact, are you not on the oxygen right now because we're talking, or is it okay?
I was using it earlier. I also have a nebulizer I use that opens up my bronchial tubes, and I do that 4 times a day, which I've done. As soon as we're done here, I'll do it for a second time. And if I sit, I'm fine. I can't. Even without smoke, I can't walk very fast without losing my breath and that sort of thing. But it's, and I haven't been outdoors since, I don't know, Saturday maybe. I have a wonderful neighbor named Judy who let me know she was going out for a quick few minutes. Did I need anything at the store? And I was out of milk and a couple of other little things, so she brought those to me. But it's there's no name for the color of the sky out here.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks all pretty in the places where it's orange, as terrible as it is. It's not orange here. It's somewhere between brown, green, dingy, and the air quality, the little meter I look at online, is marginally better today by just a few points, from as bad as it can get to a little bit less than that.
It's gone from Armageddon to something else.
Yeah, and everybody keeps telling me around here, oh, it's going to rain tomorrow, Yeah. The official weather forecast is that it doesn't rain until Thursday. And I doubt that. It's not really the rainy season here yet. It's another 2 or 3 weeks away.
Oh, boy. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that smoke, because actually we got it here in New York City yesterday.
I know. I saw.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but you could see that we had some smoke,
Well, last week for several days, we had a level 1 warning. There are 3 levels for evacuate, and level 1 is take your time, get packed, but be ready to go.
Yeah.
That's what Lake Oswego was for several days. And that's, you can see over there, the bag's still sitting over there behind me.
Yeah.
But packed. They took that away. We're at 0, but, when it's all over, I'll unpack the bag.
Yeah. How close did the fires get to you?
I don't know, Miles. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
15, 12, something like that.
Wow. Well, there isn't a real problem because our president says there isn't a problem.
Well, the problem he thinks is that we don't sweep the forest off.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
And also when the cool weather comes, this will all go away. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter that it will all go away. It's already happened.
Apparently he doesn't think, I think the worst thing in just the last couple of days from him is that he doesn't think he's president of all the states, only the Republican ones. And there's no point in discussing him anymore. Anything that comes out of his mouth is stupid or crazy in the literal, medical sense of the word.
Yeah.
And there's just no point anymore.
He is delusional. There's no question about it.
Yeah, well, then there's 40% of the United States that seems to think that that's what a president should be.
Mm-hmm. How do you think the election is going to turn out?
Say again?
How do you think the election is going to turn out?
I do not make predictions, and I do not listen to them.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that I'm worried about, and this is a definite consideration, the night of the election, he could very well be ahead because Republicans will go to the polls. Democrats, they say, by and large, are going to vote by mail. So you got to wait for those to come in. He's probably going to declare himself the winner on the night of the election and then try and negate everything that comes after it. I mean, we could have a constitution.
Predictions.
We could have a
Everybody had a prediction. Yeah.
Well, we could have a constitutional crisis going on.
Well, that's not new information.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to.
I mean, I don't understand the point. It's the day will come, and we will see what happens. Mm-hmm. And last year, everybody said everybody's prediction was, Hillary, and look what we got. So.
Well, we can't afford another 4 years of this kind of behavior. I'm sorry, It's gonna...
Well, everybody's saying that too. So.
You know what the problem is? I think, and this became I became very aware of this because I was watching a documentary on the history of China since Mao. And there was a point in the 50s where we had the opportunity of being very close and good friends with China because Mao wanted it. But we wouldn't do that because we have this whole big anti-communist thing.
We wouldn't do that, did you say?
Yeah, we wouldn't do it. Because,
what president?
This was Eisenhower. Because it was the whole anti-communist era, where everybody was afraid there was a communist behind every
When we were growing
desk.
up, that was big.
So because they were communists, we didn't want anything to do with them, all right? That is an old philosophy. Communism bad, don't have anything to do with it. The fact of the matter was that was a 50s attitude. That's the same attitude Trump has today. He's living in the 50s. The China today is not the China that was then.
When you put it that way, it seems to me that over my lifetime, I've known lots of people like that they stopped learning at a certain young age and assume that the world, through their next 40 or 50 years of life, remains static, that it didn't change.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, it just suddenly I saw the thing with Nixon when he was with Eisenhower's vice president giving a speech about how horrible communism was. It's odd that years later he became the guy that brought us together, but by going to China and being the first president to visit China. But at that time he was a rabid anti-communist because it's what he ran on. And he said, oh, no way we're ever going to have anything to do with China because they're communists. They weren't the same kind of communists as the Russians. In fact, Mao hated Stalin, just hated him. But we didn't understand any of that. And we could have had a good ongoing relationship with him if we could just accept the fact that 1.3 billion people decided to be communists, And
I don't think the individuals made that decision.
Well,
imposed upon them.
Well, it was and it wasn't. I mean, they considered what they had in China a democracy. They wanted it to be a communist democracy, and that in case people think that's weird. No, it's not weird. Communism is a economic form, and democracy is a relationship of the government to the people, and the freedoms that you have. And they initially wanted all those freedoms for their people. It went awry as the years went on, and Mao got older and stodgier and crankier. But in the beginning, it was a very noble kind of concept, So anyway, all I'm saying is that he's dealing in tapes that he recorded back in the 50s, okay? And that to him, China's still the same bad country it was back in the 50s, and it's not. It's purely not. Plus, you know, the notion that they gave us a virus, it now looks like this virus may have come here about 15 days after it first appeared in China. So, you know, how's it the China virus? All viruses come from Asia. There isn't a virus we've ever had that doesn't come from Asia. They all start there. So, anyway, so you're sitting there, you're coughing. There is no global warming according to him, but you are in the direct path of global warming where you're living right now.
Yeah.
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 I don't go outside. I haven't been outside in over a week.
I have, you know, I went outside yesterday. I've kind of decided to not go out as much anymore. I've been going out lately because kind of the coast is clear. Our infection rate is down.
Wait. The smoke just arrived.
No,
No.
I'm not talking about the smoke. I'm talking about the coronavirus. The coast is kind of...
I don't even think about it anymore, except to always put a mask on.
Yeah, remember when coronavirus was the problem?
You know, it's my sense that we just bring on the 4 horses. We've got everything else.
Yeah.
Why not bring the 4 horses?
Yeah. You know, and people are saying that. They're saying that this almost is like every disaster movie you ever went to. You know, where the skies go orange and the world is coming to an end because all the global warming stuff is coming home to roost. Yeah, this is what's happening right now in our lives. Plus, we've got the pandemic. Plus, down in Florida, they've got the hurricanes, which I hope they wipe out. It wipes out Florida, but that's just my personal feeling about Florida.
I have friends there. Leave it alone.
Oh, okay. I'll leave it alone. I lived there for a short time, and I just came to absolutely hate Florida. Just hate it. Anyway, so how are you doing? I mean, overall, because you know you've got an external problem here with the smoke.
Well, it's really making a big difference.
Really?
In how little I can physically do. I mean, we all know that, you know, the trajectory of my physical being is downward, but in just the last week it's gotten worse. This week, finally, after everybody's been giving me a hard time about not doing it, I had a cleaning service come in yesterday, and they'll come in every 2 weeks. You know, I didn't know quite how grubby I was living. And a wonderful woman came and spent 4 hours and took care of everything. And I mean, there are things I just didn't think of. For the past 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, every time I've opened the microwave, I thought, oh my God, I really do have to clean this. And never quite got, you know, the breath and the energy. And then after she had gone, I went to heat up something, and whoa, it was clean. It was nice.
The microwave is one of those things that really gets filthy.
Well, the reason is that unless you're putting something in or taking something out, you don't ever look at it.
Right.
The inside, anyway. And I keep the outside wiped down all the time.
Yeah. So
it was, and then I pulled it open, and oh wow, is that clean? So that was my big thing this week, and she'll be back. But all the beginning hard cleaning was done yesterday, and and she'll change the bed. I used to say it took me to change the bed. I had to sit down and rest for several minutes 3 times. I can barely get that done. So she did that, and I didn't have to know anything about it. And she did a really great job. And she was just terrific overall. So, that was the big news this
Well,
week.
I'll tell you something I want to tell the audience, because there's some people who don't know that I'm talking to my ex-wife, Ronnie Bennett, and that she had, or has, do they still consider you have pancreatic cancer? Or did you
What they do is whatever other cancers you get or that it metastasizes to, it's always by the medical community referred to by the first one you got. So I have pancreatic cancer. There's also cancer in a lung and a cancer in my peritoneum. And it's been several months since I've had a scan, so who knows where else it is now, too.
Yeah, yeah. But you have, I don't know, when did you first get diagnosed with the pancreatic?
June 2017.
Yeah, so you've been going for quite a while with this thing.
More than 3 years.
Yeah. I think perhaps you outlive the statistics on this?
No.
No.
No. Well, not that I don't know if I have or not, but I guess I have. That a very low percentage of people make it beyond 1 year after diagnosis.
Yeah.
But I had the Whipple surgery, this gigantic surgery where they cut you all the way down the front and take out all kinds of parts of you. But then I have COPD, which is, that's harder to live with than cancer.
Mm-hmm.
The most remarkable thing has done with the hospice nurse I have in terms of pain.
Yeah.
Before she came along a month or 6 weeks ago, I had been taking pain pills when I'd feel a first twinge of pain, usually in my torso somewhere.
Right.
And as soon as I felt a twinge, I would take a pain pill, and it takes an hour to 2 hours for them to kick in. She said, no, you're not going to do that anymore. You're going to take a pain pill every 6 hours on the clock, whether you have pain or not. And if you have pain in between, then take this other pain pill in between. The goal is zero pain, she said. And I couldn't see how doing it by the clock would help. The body does what it does in its own time.
Yeah.
But it works. Once or twice a week, I have pain breakthrough, that's all. And a pain pill takes care of it.
What probably happens is you take the pill, let's say every 6 hours, let's say arbitrarily, all right? What it does is probably there's a lap over from the time that you took it. I mean, it would last longer if that was all you took. So
I don't understand what you just said.
What you're doing is you're just simply reinforcing the pill you took before it, so that you have this constant.
But I used to take a pill, and 4 hours later, I hurt again.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yes.
And how often do you take it? Every 6?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't wake up in the middle of the night to do it at midnight.
Yeah.
I make it through the night I don't have any pain when I wake up in the morning.
Really? That's interesting because you do go a longer time while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
I assume you sleep 8 hours or something like that.
Oh, but I only wish. I'm lucky to get 3 or 4.
I sleep 8 hours every day. If I don't get 8 hours sleep, I'm just a mess.
I agree. I'm working on half that much every day of my life, and that shows.
Well, my wife has a sleeping problem that way, and I sleep next to her, so I wake up several times a night when she gets up several times a night. But so basically, where do you feel you stand on all this? What point are you in this situation you're in? What in the timeline? Where are you?
I don't know.
You really don't know.
Nobody has any way to know.
Personally, how do you feel about where you are?
I'm much, much tireder than I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that will get any better when whatever's in the air goes away, the smoke goes away.
Yeah.
I would hope so, because I can't be sure, but it feels like it's gotten worse since the fires happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I'm not going to live through this. But nobody.
If I may sound like Trump, nobody lives through this. We all eventually die,
Well, but that's not quite what I meant. But
you mean the smoke
I couldn't.
With what you've got wrong with you, what we're saying here, I guess, with what you've got wrong with you, the last thing you needed was this fire thing.
Oh yeah, well it is what it is. I mean, you can't go around railing against things you can't control. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I just wish it would go away. And in between, I'm doing the best I can by not going out and using oxygen a little more, being very careful about the other stuff, moving slowly. Mm-hmm. When I first get up is the worst. It's, lying down, I'm perfectly comfortable. I can breathe fine. I sit on the edge of the bed, I can breathe fine. I stand up. Oh my God, I didn't know that it took so much to breathe standing up. So I head for the oxygen, you know.
Well, somebody once said, and I thought it was a good joke, so I appropriated it for my own, that, I do a lot of exercise. I do 50 sit-ups every morning. Well, it takes me that many tries to get out of bed. But I'll tell you, when I get up now, it's really strange. I have a hard time in the middle of the night when I get up to go take that middle of the night pee that most guys do.
You guys think it's you guys, all the women, every woman has.
Marjorie is up twice a night for that, more than I am.
So yeah, so don't. It's not guys, it's people.
I mean, I yelled at her. I said, "When did you deserve to have a prostate problem?" But anyway, I get up and I can barely walk. I mean, I have to grab onto things and then I write myself up. But I'm so tired that I sometimes have a very hard time. When I finally get up in the morning, I get up pretty easily. But in the middle of the night, it's quite a task to get me standing up straight. It's weird. I guess it's just getting old. Damn it! I'm going to be like Trump. If you hadn't written that column, that blog about what it's like to get old, none of us would be getting old. Shame on you.
What? Every one of us it comes to.
By the way, you can go to her blog, which is timegoesby.net. And find out what it's like to get old. And now you kind of shifted over to what it's like to die, which
yes.
is part of getting old. So you've
yes.
literally been covering the subject in depth.
I mean, it was just what it's really like to get old, and I've told that story about how I came to that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to think long and hard about when I was first diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, whether I would write about it or not. And I came to the conclusion of just what you said, that up until then, I had been, in terms of health, I had been lucky for 76 years. Yeah. The worst thing that ever happened to me was a cold now and then or the flu.
Mm-hmm.
And that many people have one or more. I think it's something that after age 65, I could be off, but I'm close. After 65, some huge percentage, like 75 or 80% of people have at least one or two chronic diseases.
Right.
And if cancer isn't killing you, it's a chronic disease. Some people live with COPD for years and years and years. Mine became evident much later in its development, and there's no treatment. You can only, keep it under control. That's about it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything about that particularly until it happened to me. And then I realized that it kind of fit right in with what I was writing about, because up until that happened to me, I was the anomaly. Most people my age had one or two or more diseases.
Right. But when you got one,
I didn't mess around.
You hit it right out of the park, kiddo. Well, I never gripe to you about my particular aches and pains, because compared to what you're going through, I have annoyances, okay? I have neuropathy. That's an annoyance,
I have that too. Yeah. Would you like my whole list?
Yeah, I have allergy problems. That's an annoyance. I had the cancer. I had the prostate cancer, but it seems to be remissed, as it were. And we're what is that going on? Is that her phone going off? Son of a bitch. I've got to have her turn that down next time. Anyway.
I don't hear a thing.
I know you don't hear a thing. It was all over in the corner. I just, pretty much my cancer, the PSA tests and stuff show that they got it, at least for now, So I'm, I consider myself fortunate, because even when I got cancer, it was one of the most curable of the cancers. So, so I never gripe about it when I'm on with you, because that would be insulting to you.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Of course you can.
Come on. You're pathetic. Oh man, jeez. It is not fun getting older. Well, we're running out of time. No, I can't. I say that every week, and I shouldn't say that. We're
What?
running out of our allotted time on the program.
You can say we're running out of time. I'm running out of time.
You're running out of time, and I'm running out of time, and we're all running out of time.
Everybody's running out of time.
And what say we get together and do this again in a couple of weeks, okay?
Let's do that.
Ladies
All right.
and gentlemen,
Maybe I'll be a little
that's
more
Ronnie Bennett.
lively.
TimeGoesBy.net is her blog. Read it. Go back and read all the old stuff because it's ageless. You know, it's what do we call in the
thank
business?
you.
Evergreen.
Thank you.
It's evergreen. Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And that's Ronnie, and we love talking to Ronnie, and we will talk to her in 2 weeks from right now. God willing, and the creeks don't rise, as they say in the old days. Anyway, oh man. How are you this evening? You ready to go with another session of this thing that we do? A lot of people are watching tonight. Well, that's good. You know, sometimes I wonder, should I keep doing this? Do people care? It's apparently they do. Anyway, let's start going to some of our admitting some of our people to our Zoom panel. We have Charlie Wallace and we have Fred Sox. Let's see here. There's Fred. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I got to do this. Okay, there we go. Are we okay? Do we have this right? Okay. Wait a minute. There's something wrong. Oh, I see what it is. Okay, we're fine. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that I've got the right thing going here and everything. Hello, Charlie. Hello, Fred.
Hello, Alex.
Fred, I forget where your residence is. Where are you located?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. So, well, let's see. Do you have any major problems there in that part of the world? I mean, outside of the fact that it's North Carolina?
Yeah, we're on the uptick in the COVID.
Yeah. Oh, really? You're in the uptick?
Yeah, we're still in the uptick.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any better, does it?
No.
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 Yeah, we had one day where we went to let's see, our governor says that you want to stay under 1%, and we hit 1% day before yesterday, but then yesterday we hit 1.8, well, excuse me, a 0.87, I think, or something like that. So we're still under a 1, and that's
we should have your governor be president.
Believe me, I am hoping that someday he does become president because he has certainly comported himself correctly in this situation, and it was not an easy situation for anybody. I mean, I would even if he weren't so in a state of denial, I would feel sorry for Donald Trump having to be president during this crisis. I would feel sorry for anybody, but I don't feel sorry for him because he won't admit there's a problem. And that caused a lot more deaths than we should have had. You know?
Yeah, his leadership is just in the toilet, so to speak.
Wait a minute, leadership?
His lack of leadership is in the toilet.
Leadership.
I would argue that his leadership is right where he wants it, and that's just to his core. He's not governing for nobody else except for his fucking core.
Well, or himself. You know.
Right.
Hey, we know we've been joined by, we haven't seen this face in a long time. It must be because we're free of some other person. Scott Boddicker.
No, I've been in timeout since my last visit.
Why?
I'm glad you don't remember. I'm not even going to say.
Did you put yourself in timeout?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Self-imposed timeout.
Was it because of a interaction with somebody else?
No. Don't you remember? Well, maybe you don't remember.
No,
maybe I shouldn't say.
I don't remember.
Last time I called in, I was a little inebriated.
Well, that's what we like about you.
It's great on Jack's show.
Yeah, you don't care if you go on somebody else's show drunk as hell.
No. But that's Jack, and you're like the all-star. Jack's like, second string. I better not. Jack,
Stop it.
Does Jack listen?
Stop it. Well, he doesn't listen now. I'll tell you that.
I'm just teasing you, Jack. You know I love you.
Yeah, but I mean, I've never noticed. You might be drunk and you might know it, but I don't notice it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But if you
I was embarrassed. I was really embarrassed by my performance.
Do you feel you drink too much?
No, I don't. I do not.
Oh,
it's more of a Jackie Gleason, Dean Martin kind of thing.
It's a prop.
Yeah.
It's a prop. Yeah.
Except sometimes it goes a little over the top.
See, I don't drink. And I'll tell you why I don't drink. It's not because everybody thinks I'm like some kind of teetotaler because, well, I'm against alcohol. Now, I don't think alcohol's great for you, but I don't like the taste of the stuff. I know that sounds strange, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially to somebody who drinks. Do you drink, Charlie? I never asked you that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I drink.
Oh,
The only drink I didn't like was beer until I got to Texas and the 100-degree weather convinced me to beer.
You know something? You're right about that. I never liked beer particularly, but on a really hot day, somebody handed me a beer, and God, did it taste good. But doesn't beer, because it's alcohol, dehydrate you more than you already are?
Yes.
So it's kind of counterproductive.
You just have to drink more beer.
Yeah.
I guess that's the answer. I did not know that. What is your drink of choice, Scott?
You talking liquor?
The liquor, yeah.
Probably right now it's bourbon.
Bourbon. Oh, good.
Bourbon,
Yeah. Bourbon has
cheaper the better.
Well, really? In other words, you want the rot gut stuff. Yeah. Right. Do you drink at all, Richard? Robert, rather?
No. I used to be a Jack Daniels guy, but about 30 years ago, my digestive system just didn't handle it. So I haven't had a drink in quite some time. And you're right. If I go to parties and sit there with a soda, people automatically assume that, I was out of control at some point, which was never the case.
Everybody assumes that if you don't drink, you're an alcoholic and you're not drinking. And I always had a problem that way, because I didn't drink because I just don't like the taste of the stuff. But it's funny when somebody would say, come on, have a drink. What will you have? My drink of preference was not vodka, which is supposed to be the easiest thing to drink. You can swill that stuff down by the gallon. Yeah. But mine was scotch.
I used to be scotch, but bourbon's, it's whiskey. It's all just different type of whiskey. Yeah.
Really? I see. I don't even know that.
Scotch is a whiskey. Bourbon's a whiskey.
Yeah.
Canadian whiskey. There's all kinds of whiskeys.
Yeah.
But just a I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
A gender.
Yeah. So anyway, that's glad to have you back, Scott.
Well, the show is a lot more pleasant to listen to on the podcast. I listen to you all the time, but Zoom. I'm still getting used to the Zoom.
It has been pleasant.
Yes.
Yes. The Zoom is much easier to use, Scott.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It just.
I mean, I had people that were flummoxed by Skype. I mean, I don't think Jeff quite ever learned Skype. He just tolerated it. But this is just a no-brainer, even for me. I just sit here, and all I have to do is admit people when they go into the waiting room.
And it is a lot smoother in the opening when it used to be like for 15 minutes putting people in places and whatnot.
I used to say, okay, now I'll put him in this place and that place and so on. Yeah.
It was real rough at first for you.
Yeah.
But it is much smoother.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I don't like about it is that I don't have as much control over the way it looks. that I had with the Skype thing, because I was putting everything in its own place and where people should go. But when I got up to 10 or more people, it started going sour. It started getting glitchy and noisy, and people were out of sync, and some people were popping in and out. With this, I've done 16 people, I think, here has been my max so far, and my system wasn't even breathing heavy, So, yeah.
Even my computer, I'm going to test it, because I think with Zoom it's not going to run as hard, but in Skype, with just a few people on Skype, my computer, it's getting older and it just gets so hot and it's wearing down. Yeah.
The more people I added to Skype, I can see here my CPU usage, my central processing unit usage. And here on this, I can put 20 people on here and it doesn't budge from about 16%. It just, Zoom does all the heavy lifting. And also, if anybody wants to call right now, you just go over to either my Facebook page or go to gabnet.net, and over on the right-hand side of the page says click here for Zoom. You don't even have to have Zoom in your computer. It'll ask you if you'd like to install it, but you don't have to, and it'll just put you right through just by clicking it. So, I mean, it's very democratic, too, is what I like about it.
Zoom can do up to 100 or 200 people.
I pay for a service where I can get up to 100.
Yeah.
I would hate to have to deal with a citizen panel of 100 plus. They wouldn't all be in the same panel. I would have to go back and forth between the pages. So I prefer to just stick it at 20 where, but we've never gotten that high. And one night I should probably beg people to just call so we can see how many people we can put on at the same time. Except for one person. That's why.
Who's this one person you keep mentioning?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. We don't even want to talk
It's Doug from North Carolina.
It's Doug from North Carolina, right? Whatever happened to Doug? Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's a Facebook friend of mine.
Oh, is he a Facebook friend of yours? Really? What's he doing? He's not married anymore, right?
Oh, I hadn't heard that. He hadn't posted that.
I think I got the idea he and his wife broke up, but I may be wrong. If I were his wife, I'd break up with him. But
his wife's a real sweetheart.
What?
His wife's a real sweetheart.
Oh, yeah. He's not a bad guy either. It's just that he sometimes would call up. You want to talk about somebody who would call up drunk and just hijack the show.
Yeah.
There was no controlling him. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I don't want to, let me put it this way. I did this because I'm no longer working. And I don't want to work too hard when I do, okay? I want to just have a nice time. And so when you got somebody like Doug, it's like driving a car and having a drunk in the driver's seat tugging on the steering wheel all the time, And that was pretty rough for me, So I mean, he's the only person that's ever been banned from the show. There's one other person that I didn't ban them from the show, but I just don't. They go to the waiting room and they just keep sitting there, and it's only because every time they come on, they've always got some technical problem that they can't seem to solve. You know who I'm talking about? Yep. A guy from another country. Not Bree. Bree's coming on right now. But he's always has problems, it's glitchy. And then so you're taking up 15, 20 minutes trying to solve his transmission problem, and you don't want to do that. So, So that's the way the show works, folks.
It's great. You are relevant, and we all love it. We all love your show.
Well, thank you. All 7 of you. Anyway, hello, Bree. How are you today?
Hello.
Yeah.
Good.
No cat.
What?
No wild animals in the attic.
No wild animals in the attic.
Okay.
What'd you do with that cat?
Wildlife people came and got him.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Looks like he's performing digital rectal exams.
Oh, really?
I use gloves anytime I do any work, like at all, moving things, anything, because I always cut myself, even with paper.
I know why you have those gloves on.
Why?
You started experimenting with the coffee idea, didn't you?
Yeah, I suppose this would have worked.
Yeah.
I could have had the space for that. This house has so much room, and this particular space is like a storage room. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to organize it so I can actually do a lot of work in here.
Yeah.
Like it'll be kind of a storage room / work room.
Right. Right. But
My boss was recently experimenting with OBS for doing his online presentation stuff. So I don't know.
Well, that's what I use here for the show.
Yeah. So does it work with one camera, or do you have to have another camera or something?
No, you can do it with one camera. That's basically I only do it with one camera. I do have a couple other cameras hooked into it, but I never use them. Usually I use.
What do you mean plugged into it?
It's plugged into the computer.
I see.
Yeah, plugged into the computer. So there's Scott. There's Scott. There's
You asshole.
Basically, I only
there's.
I use separate a couple other cameras hooked into it, but I never use them. Usually I use
Wait a minute. Where did that sound come from? Anyway, Mr. Stopper, hello there. How are you? Doing okay?
How are you?
Yeah. So anyway, where are we? Yeah, that's what happens with I do have second cameras I can use. Like for instance, here's my camera, okay, and then I've got a camera over where Marjorie usually sits, and that's called the B camera, and I can go over there if I want to, but that's kind of a waste of time. So we go back to our Zoom panel, and there we are. See, that's how OBS works. OBS means something broadcast system, open source broadcast system. So, which means everybody can kind of add to it and modify it and improve on it and so on. Well, anyway, so the fire's still going on out in California, although it's supposed to start raining. And I think I understand you guys out there. Where is Kevin isn't. Brian isn't here tonight.
How is your storage container?
What?
You have a storage container in California. Last time it almost burned up.
No, it didn't come close to burning down this time. No, it's okay. But anyway, where's Brian tonight? It's strange. Brian usually always calls. Maybe he will call later. But I wanted to ask, but I can ask Kevin, and I can ask anybody else out in California. Yeah, well, we got John Larkin out in California. I understand that things are a little better since you started raking the leaves.
I did my raking today, yeah.
Yeah, you did your raking. What's interesting is I hate to call him president because I don't feel like we have one, okay? Today, or was it yesterday, that he said that, what was it that we had? He was talking, he meant to say herd
mentality.
Herd mentality.
He called it herd mentality.
Yeah.
And I stopped to think that was the first time he's really ever been right about anything, because the people who are his fans have a herd mentality.
Yes.
But he meant herd immunity.
Right.
Yeah, but Alex, if we want to talk about gaffes, Biden had a slew of them.
Oh, really?
Over the weekend and this week. Oh my gosh. He said under the Harris Biden administration, it's really going to be everything's going to be taken care of. So he put Kamala first. In case you missed that, she's now top of the ticket.
Yeah. Well, I think that isn't a gaffe. That's being nice. You know,
How about playing Despacito on his phone?
What?
And he played that. He was giving a talk in front of the Hispanic community. He wanted to win them over. Mm-hmm. So he took he's at the beginning of his speech. He says, "Wait, everybody!" He takes out his mobile phone, and he starts to play Despacito, which means slowly. And yeah, so the Trump campaign had a field day with Slow Joe. So I mean,
well, here's the thing. I don't mind gaffes. I vastly prefer them to complete inadequacy, and complete avoidance of the problems. I expect when I have Joe Biden as president, he's going to make gaffes, okay? But you laugh at the gaffes. You don't laugh at 200,000 people dead because some guy wouldn't admit there was a problem. So I'll take Biden gaffes over. I mean, wouldn't you, Bree? Be honest about it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I guess you're right. But I mean, if you're going to talk about slips of the tongue, then you have to include Biden.
Well, what about Barr slipping the tongue a little while ago? Did you hear Barr slip?
Yeah.
Who?
Barr says Barr said that the lockdown compared to slavery.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
really?
Not That's not a slip of the tongue. That's what he believes.
Yeah.
And did you hear the other?
That's not a
you
slip
hear
of
the
the
other
tongue.
thing that Barr was saying to people at the Justice Department, that these people should be arrested for insurrection. People
Sedition.
who are sedition,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's an insurrection what they're doing.
Yeah,
No,
we had a.
it's called freedom of speech, but I don't think Barr heard of that because he didn't go to law school that long.
Yeah.
We had a talk show host in Pittsburgh who got let go for a bit. She said shoot on sight. They should be shot on sight.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
You hear what Trump said today? That if you took out all the blue states, we wouldn't have that many deaths, from the COVID.
No, really, it's all
Yeah,
our.
that's what he said. If it wasn't for the blue states,
It's all our.
But then when you stop and think of it, that's where everybody lives, in the blue states.
Well-
you take out California, New York, fucking, that's right there.
Here's the thing. He says that all those forest lands should be raked, okay, and cleaned up, and then there wouldn't be fires like that. And the fact is that I think 60% of the fires are on federal land.
Federal land. Yeah.
So why isn't his federal land management people
It's
raking the leaves?
Federal land is like 58%.
57% federal to
California,
3% state.
3%.
California.
To 3% state.
Yep.
Then what's the
Hey,
rest
but
of it?
don't when the facts have
57%.
gotten in the way of Trump.
Huh? What?
50 cent. Is he going to talk or me?
No, go ahead, Kevin.
57% in federal and 3% in state.
And then what's the rest? Private?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why isn't he doing something about it?
That's what Newsom said to him.
Yeah.
And he kind of shrugged his head and turned to the forestry people and told them they had their heads up their ass. With the,
He wasn't
with the
going to.
science.
Yeah, he wasn't going to admit to his
Yeah,
mistake.
yeah. He said the science that
Yeah.
Well, it's going to get dark tonight, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna. This is all. He said. Eventually, this is all gonna go away.
Oh yeah.
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 Absolutely. So are those hurricanes. They're gonna disappear too.
Did you know water is wet too?
No.
Really wet. I think
You don't say.
once he said really wet.
Yeah, it's going to get really, really wet.
Yeah.
And he
They
pulled out the
should,
mark.
bring in some rhinoceroses.
Yeah. Well, in fact,
God, I love
unfortunately,
him.
that's one thing that didn't plague Stormy Daniels when she was with him, was getting wet. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Ride the veal.
Enjoy the veal. Don't forget to tip the waiters.
Yeah. No, there's so much. It's the anti-science, I think, that bothers me. I mean, science it's very important to believe in science because science isn't a myth.
Science is real whether you believe it or not.
Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. I mentioned this last night, and I thought about it more today, and the more I thought about it, the more right I think I am. And even Ronnie agreed with me on this. The problem with Trump is he has a 50s mentality about everything. For instance, his attitude about the Chinese is a 50s attitude. Oh, those commies, we can't have anything to do with those commies. They're out to get us. They want to go to war against us. He's living in that mentality when the China that exists today is an entirely different animal. And while it has a whole raft of problems, it doesn't have the same problems it had in the 50s, and he's still living in the 50s.
No, I don't think he is, Alex. I think he just uses that when it behooves him. He has a granddaughter who speaks Mandarin, so I'm sure he's tried to do dealings with them, and he probably just wasn't successful. That's probably why he was telling his daughter and teach her Mandarin so she can help me get into the Chinese market. He just doesn't have as much there. He can't sort of canoodle his way. The corruption level is lower than in Russia, for example, where he can get money from banks and do, and have relationships because that's the kind of world he knows.
Robert?
I agree with, go ahead, Bree, finish.
Yeah, if he's still in the 1980s, he would never talk to Russia, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. Robert?
I agree with what Bree's saying, and I'd like to take it a step further. Stop and think about the important states in the country as far as the electoral college are concerned, and they're states that suffered from the lack of manufacturing. That manufacturing and industrialization is on the wane, and we're becoming less an industrialized country and more a service economy country and an information economy. And so I think the appeal was to go to those Rust Belt states and have a foil and say it's because of them that you've lost your job, when the actual fact is they were going to lose their jobs anyway because we're less an industrialized economy.
Exactly.
Like it used to be.
Yeah.
So China for him, I think, is just a foil that he can point to. And the guy that lost his coal mining job buys into the fact that, oh, yeah, now I know who I should blame. In the meantime, it was simply the economy has turned on those people. Historically, when the agrarian America turned into the industrial America, there was this same kind of upheaval where farmers were now without skills, without ability to provide for themselves. So I think he uses China as he loves to have a foil.
Well, I mean, the thing is, another good example of him having a 50s mentality is when he did this whole thing about we have to bring back coal. These coal miners are being hurt. Well, I'm sorry, but coal isn't the energy source we use any longer.
No.
And plus, who here would love to be a coal miner and get black lung disease and, I have to go down into those ghastly situations which are run by some of the most egregious employers in the country.
Yes.
And what? I'm going to get you back down in the mine.
Yeah.
What? Teach them something else. Teach them how to run a computer or something. Get them out of that coal mine. Scott, you went right. You kind of agreed with that, right?
Well, they don't do that much underground mining anymore. It's more of a strip mining, chop the mountaintop off and destroy the environment. It's horrible what they're doing, mountaintop removal.
Oh, and some of the fracking is terrible too.
Yeah.
I mean,
fracking's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Whole areas are. What are you doing there, Bree? Every time we go there, he's doing something. I mean, you don't Alex, say, I think I'll paint this room before the Bennett show goes on, and then I'll call the Bennett show. But no, you go, I'll wait for the Bennett show to start painting.
I'm not painting. I'm just organized.
Oh, I see.
I have to stay active during the day. I mean, I just feel bad when I'm always sitting. If I sit for and I have to for my job a lot. If I sit 20 minutes or so, at 25 minutes, I just start feeling like I'm going to die. I've got to get up and move.
Yeah. Well, what time is it there? It's probably about the same time it is here, but 12 hours difference, right? It's probably 11:29 there, right?
That's right. And I got to think about ordering lunch here, probably from Food Panda.
Now, here's an interesting little factoid that most people don't know. How many time zones are there in China?
like 7 or 9.
One.
Oh, yeah, China.
Yeah, China decided.
Mainland China.
Mainland
Yeah.
China decided they would have the same time zone throughout all of China, even though they would normally span, as you say, something like 6 or 7 time zones. Which is like, for instance, here in the United States, we have a number of time zones, so that when it's like 9 o'clock in New York, it's 1957 in Florida. So, it's a joke, folks. Anyway, Mr. Socks, what do you think about what's going on these days? Isn't it just frustrating as hell?
Well, I'm still trying to get over the fact that 40-something% of the people in the United States support this guy.
Yeah.
How does that possibly be? How can that? It's just mind-boggling.
Well, how stupid do you have to be? Although I do know some intelligent people, believe it or not, who are Trump folks, and I can't. Yeah, and I can't even see why, because even some of my biggest Republican friends, conservative friends, don't like Trump because he's ruining the brand.
But
But Alex, I have my days when I like Trump.
Good for you. So you're the one. Okay.
I could explain it.
Well, let somebody else talk here. Mr. Socks, how do you feel about that?
Well, so, if we have intelligent Republican people,
well, I don't think
that we support Trump.
I don't think Republicans are necessarily stupid, and I don't like to write them off as stupid because
I don't either.
I do think you have to have a loyal, decent opposition. All right, and I like people who disagree with me because I'm not I'm not the last word on everything. But there are.
Yeah, but disagreeing with you
is a difference between conservative and trumpet, being a trumpet. Yeah.
Exactly. Another thing is it's not just Trump either. Let's look at the Senate. Let's look at the Congress.
Well, let's for a moment forget
the
about
Senate.
Yeah.
They completely vote whatever.
Listen, the minute Trump is no longer president, the Republicans in the Senate, if there are a majority of them, or even if there aren't a majority of them, are going to suddenly start denying his existence. Okay, they're still
going to vote party line every time.
They're in there for the short game. Yeah, but the party line might change if the leadership of that party changes because Trump is out. The leadership in that party right now is there because that's who Trump wants in there.
Well, I'm also trying to say at the same time that Democrats also have the same kind of problems. They're both party line pretty much.
It's funny. You look at the Republican candidates.
So now you have a government that's stuck in neutral. You can't get anything done.
But you look at the Republican candidates over the last couple of years, Romney and McCain, and you go, wow, we would sure be better off with those guys, wouldn't we?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yep.
I look at Colin Powell at times and think to myself, he's a Republican, but if he were president, I would sleep nights.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, Romney, I didn't like him. I wasn't politically for him. He's not my political camp. But I would feel a lot safer at night if he were president of the United States because I would know, number one, he wouldn't have his belly going out over his belt buckle. And secondly, he would have a respect for the job.
Yes.
And of course, McCain definitely would have respect for the job. Yep. The only thing that made me sad about McCain was I think that he was a fairly decent person, okay? Yes. And I, at one point in my life, I said the only Republican I could vote for would be John McCain. Then John McCain ran, and because he felt he somehow had to compromise himself with his vice presidential choice, that was insane. Okay.
He resented that, man. That was a mistake.
That probably cost him the election.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Maybe
mean,
Trump should replace Pence with Sarah Palin. That would make a great ticket, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. You know.
You could go to her house and see Russia from there.
How many of you here felt he was going to get rid of Pence when he ran for a second term? I thought so, yeah. But no, he won't. He's keeping Pence there. I think what he is,
He's too much of a yes man.
well, he's assassination insurance. You know, because nobody would want to shoot Trump because then we get Pence. All right.
Got to take them both
Think
out.
Pence is worse?
Okay. I think Pence is worse. No, he's
Okay, I got the evidence.
You know what he believes. You know, and that's the thing that you don't know about Trump. Trump's just all over the place.
Yeah, well, he can take what he believes and shove it up his ass.
I know.
You know,
Alex, so I found out China officially does have one time zone, but unofficially they have others.
How does that work?
yeah. I don't know.
In Xinjiang.
What time is it? Well, do you want the real time or the rumor?
Yes.
Yes.
In Xinjiang, they have a separate time that's 4 hours different from Beijing. But because Beijing tells them they have to use official time, they report that and then their own. So officially, they've got one time zone, but unofficially, it's kind of like Mandarin is the official Chinese.
Well, I don't
speak.
listen. I don't see that as a bad thing, making your whole country be the same time zone, just to end any kind of confusion. The only thing is that, you know, if we did it here in the United States, when it's 10 o'clock at night here, the sun will still be up in California, you know. And if you said that that's 10 o'clock at night, how do you go to sleep? You know, so it's a real problem. So that I don't know exactly how that works in China, but all I know is that every time my wife goes to China, I know exactly what time it is over there because I look at my clock and then I add 12 hours. Yeah. I know. I feel that Pence, he has a lot of religious dogma going there, and I don't like that as a person being political in this country. I think even if you're religious, and Jimmy Carter, for instance, very religious guy, but he didn't impose that upon the presidency and upon the population. I'll tell you, Rosalind Carter once was asked by a Christian reporter, have you been born again? And her answer was, no, because I got it right the first time. You know, I mean, there was no more religious person than the Carters, and yet they never imposed that upon the public.
Well, how about when they asked Jimmy Carter,
you
know, have you ever thought about other women and that kind of stuff? And he said, well, I've lusted in my heart.
Right.
Which was the theme of my lunchtime.
Which was an honest
You have been with us long enough, Fred, to know that that's one of my common sayings at lunchtime here.
Yes. But I don't know. You know, I mean, we're getting close to the election. And if you look at Nate Silver, who I think is probably the best person to read on the subject, he's usually always been right. I read him today, Nate Silver.
Oh, thanks.
538.
440 or something?
What's the name of the?
538.
538. He says it looks pretty good for Biden. You know. The only weak spot that they found.
Here, it looks all Trump.
Can I say something, Bree, please? Yes. What Nate Silver said was that the only problem that he might have, people are saying, is Florida. And there's some question as to whether they're getting good reports from Florida because the Hispanics down there don't seem to be for Biden. And the reason is because they're Cubans who are very right-wing. What were you going to say, Jeff? Huh? Jeff, turn on your mic.
That's where Bloomberg is spending all his money.
Yeah.
I'm going to say again, the Cubans are Republicans, I believe.
Yeah. They're very, very staunch Republicans.
Yeah.
Know why? Well, I can tell you why, because I worked in a Cuban district. They still have resentment, believe it or not, about the Bay of Pigs.
Well, it wasn't like we didn't try.
I understand that, but that isn't how they see it.
Yeah, they haven't forgotten.
Well, here's the thing. I've always disliked intensely the Miami Cubans, and I'll tell you why. Because the vast majority of them came from Cuba as very privileged people. Mm-hmm. They were the ones who kept Batista in power and were, in fact, rich and wealthy because of Batista. And the minute Castro came in and turned everything over to the people,
They all left.
They all left because they were going to have nothing. And so they hated Castro for that. And it was all because they were in that category of hating Castro because it wasn't in their best interest to be for Castro. You know, and they just constantly, remember that whole Elian Gonzalez? You remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, man, they were kidnapping this kid and handing him over to other people, and the kid's going, I want to go home to daddy. And no, you can't go home to daddy. We're not going to let... That was all those Cubans down in Miami.
Yeah.
And those same Cubans, by the way, gave you Scarface. So, I mean, come on. They were some of the biggest drug dealers on the planet.
MSNBC just put up a poll that's got Lindsey Graham in a dead heat.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Susan Collins going to lose. She's down by 12.
Yeah,
she's
down big time.
Yeah. So we might lose that seat. We might lose the other seat. So slowly, if I always
take the Senate.
In the past, I've always said I kind of like an even keel on power. That we have people who are. We have Democrats, we have Republicans. Maybe we have a Republican Senate, and we have a Democratic Congress, and we have a whatever president, and all that kind of balances itself out and lets the dialogue flow. But that dialogue has stopped. So that now I pray that everybody who controls Congress and the Senate and the White House are all Democrats. I haven't wanted that in the past. You look like you agree with me, Robert. I mean,
Yes, I do.
In a good,
no longer.
In a healthy democracy like this, you'd have that, and then all these ideas come together in this one place, and a better idea comes out, hopefully.
Yep.
Those days are gone. So I just hope we wipe their asses on the floor, with a mop.
Pray.
I may have just made up a new saying. I don't know what that was. Wiping their asses with a mop. Brian, how are you feeling about it these days? So you think we're in a positive place?
I think I'm like you guys, getting tired of just back and forth. Like even when he came and visited California and stuff, I wasn't interested in what he was going to say because he's going to say something stupid, and his people are in it to the end. People I have on Facebook and friends of mine who are for him, it doesn't matter what he does. Mm-hmm. He does something more stupid, and they're not even like contemplating what he did. It's that reversal, and it's 10 times harder of this is why he did it because this is why, and
Lindsey
he can do anything. They're not going to change their vote.
Lindsey Graham, knowing he's on the cusp, of being out the door, has suddenly come out by going, well, sometimes Trump does stuff I don't like.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
This week.
Up until recently, when things didn't look bad for you, you didn't seem to really care, and you defended him. And all these Republican senators are enablers.
Yeah.
He's like Trump is an alcoholic, and they're feeding him the liquor.
So what Susan Collins going to be? Is she going to be? I'm going to be more concerned now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very concerned. Now I'm more concerned.
Yeah. Well.
Where are all the deficit hawks? Where are all the Republicans in favor of family values? Where are all the Republicans in favor of a strong military and limited government? I don't hear those people anymore.
It only happens when the Democrats are in power.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I don't hear those people anymore. Their foundation is no longer their foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't, I don't understand that way in which they seem to ignore
updates available.
What's that? What was that?
I don't know.
Updates available? What? What are you trying to show us, Bree, while we're talking? Huh?
I'm just organizing here, but this is a platinum award that I got for a band I worked with.
Oh, okay. Very
Do you
nice.
have one of these, Alex?
No, but I have two Emmys.
Okay. They used to give these out to radio people too. Though.
Also an RIAA award as well. So.
But you got a Bay Area Hall of Fame thing, don't you?
Oh, I'm also in the Bay Area Hall of Fame. All right.
I got that for Pittsburgh.
Who? What?
Nothing.
You're in the Pittsburgh Radio Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Music industry.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so I mean, you know, I'm very tense about this because I know what's going to happen election night. Democrats are going to mail in their ballots. Okay, so they're not going to be counted till the next day or maybe within the week. In the meantime, the Republicans are going to go to the polls, and when the votes come in that night, it's going to look like Trump won. If it doesn't happen like that on election night, I'm going to be amazed. But what's going to happen is he's suddenly going to claim he's the victor. And then he's going to try and keep those other votes from being counted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they are counted, and of course it comes out that he's been trounced, he's going to court and going to argue those votes should not be counted. And that is going to take us well into January, when on January 20th, Nancy Pelosi becomes President of the United States.
That'd be nice.
It's going to be Trump.
Oh, well,
We got this one in the mail yesterday.
What if you plan to vote by mail? Plan ahead. Yes, yes.
There's so many problems. There's one state now where they said that the postmaster general couldn't get the ballots out or in or something. Was it Georgia? There's
to make a change.
So many problems. There's no way we can have an accurate vote. We just cannot.
I think.
How will you tell me this, Bree? How is it you claim we have an accurate vote when people go to a polling place, and then somehow those ballots get lost on the way to the central place where they count them?
That's why. It's the human condition. It's human nature.
Well, then I don't see.
We're not robots.
I think you have more of a paper trail with a mail-in ballot that has a barcode on it and a signature.
Well, I don't understand why we can't use blockchain for this. You know, blockchain is supposed to be the future. Why can't we do voting?
Because we don't
blockchain?
have it right now. That's the reason why.
And that's why Trump's going to be your president.
Yes, yes, John Larkin.
So every state does the counting themselves, and then they report it to somebody.
But I mean,
the Federal Election Commission.
Yeah,
it's run by a Republican.
Each state is responsible for, doing their own count.
Yes.
But have you heard what's his name, Howard Stone or Roger Stone? What he's saying?
No.
He's been saying that they should declare martial law and go marching into the state of Wisconsin and just take all the ballots, and just shut the whole thing down. And he's fucking nuts.
I mean, Trump is going to use this to make a big deal out of the fact that I've won, and I've been robbed. I'm being robbed. And even if the vote is like 10% more for Biden than for Trump, he's going to be claiming that.
And he's going to tell his base, you should go do this. You should go do this. And it's going to end up in mob scenes on the street, and it's going to be.
Well, be sure you vote twice.
Yeah.
Stupid. Make sure you go down to the go to your polling place, but also mail your ballot in. Now, what happens if that happens? They do have a way of checking against that, don't they?
They do, yes.
I mean, like if I vote by mail and then I go across the street and vote, they have a way of checking whether I've already voted or not.
Yeah.
You can only vote with the ballot that you have. Everybody gets a ballot, one ballot.
Oh, so you can walk it down to your polling place. What we're doing here is that you can take your ballot, walk it over to your polling place, and just give it to them. You don't have to even go in and vote.
That's what I do.
If you get the way our polls work is if you go in, if you've already mailed yours in, and you try and vote again, when we check you in, we already know that you voted.
Oh, okay.
No. If you go in after you've already voted with your actual ballot, they'll give you a provisional, and you can use that.
You can't even, at least in my county where I run the polls at my place,
Really?
we check you in and we can tell you already voted.
Oh, really?
Jeff,
you won't even get a ballot.
I thought it was true that if you voted in one place and then you tried to vote again, regardless of where the place was, that you're automatically, your name is taken off.
Yeah.
It'll show up in our electronic books. It'll show up as you voted already.
What?
They should
We
find.
can give you another one, but it won't count.
They should find people.
You're
Yes.
never denied.
We're also suggesting that people who mail in their ballots also go to the polling places.
Well, that's what Trump said.
Because, like you're saying, if you showed up that you already voted, then you can't vote.
Well,
But it's
I'll
a
tell
way
you
of you
what.
checking that your vote has been counted.
Because
Okay,
you're never.
And if it was
denied-
lost, you get a new one. Yeah.
I'll tell you this: in California,
You see, we
never,
see all the.
Wait, hold on a second. What, Kevin?
you're never denied the right to vote. But if you show up and you've shown that you have voted, we'll let you vote, but it'll be a provisional vote and it won't count. And we'll tell you that.
Okay.
We say, we show you that you have voted already, but we'll give you a ballot and you can vote it. It'll be a provisional vote, but when you get it there and it's counted, it won't be counted. We'll tell you that straight up.
John,
As far as the vote, yellow envelope goes into a
You're
yellow.
looking at the wrong end.
Gets counted as a yellow.
As far as the voter is concerned, if he wants to check that their mail-in vote was counted, they go to the polling place and they will tell you, no, you've already voted.
Correct.
You can do that online.
That is the way
Okay,
you can check on your own
John
vote.
Larkin's been trying to say something all
And this
along.
year,
Yes,
let me
John.
say one more thing, please.
Yeah.
This year, you can track your vote online.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go online and find that you voted already.
John Larkin.
Yeah, what I've happened to me a lot of times is I'll lose my ballot, and because I'm irresponsible if it's not an important vote. I'm not going to lose it this year, but what happens is when I show up, I'll go, hey, I lost my ballot. So then they give you a provisional that says, well, you can use this, but it's not going to count. Up to a certain time, I guess.
No, they'll take it back. They'll make sure you didn't vote.
Yeah.
Check everything back, and then if it's good, they'll count
Right,
it.
yeah. But that
Hey,
probably
Kevin.
won't happen until like a week after, the thing's over.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes a week.
Yeah.
But it goes into a certain envelope, then it goes into a certain bag, and then it goes to a certain file back at the office.
Right, yeah.
Obviously, you've worked polling places before.
I've worked polling places the last 4 or 5 elections. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kevin, has it always been perfect?
Has it always been perfect? At my places, it has. I've stayed extra hour counting.
Yes.
So,
Wait a
just
minute.
by
Okay.
yourself.
Hold on a second. People are raising their hand. First, Robert, and then Jeff. Robert.
Did anybody see the interview with Ben Ginsburg? Ben Ginsburg is probably the prominent Republican voting election expert. And he did an interview this weekend where he said that Republicans at some point did an investigation of 16 million ballots across the country and found exactly four cases where there was a potential for fraudulent voting.
And he's a Republican guy
He's a Republican.
that sued for Bush in front of the Supreme Court back in Bush v. Gore.
Yeah.
So that guy's an expert.
Jeff, you had your hand up.
Yeah, my question is, I actually moved since I got my driver's license in a different location. What do I have to do now?
Just re-register your address.
Yeah, go to your voting place and
You can do it online.
Yeah.
Just go to your local
Kevin,
county office. Go to your county office or go online to your local county
Right.
election office and just re-register your address.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. Marjorie,
now.
we signed in up for mail-in voting. And Marjorie, when we had the primaries, Marjorie got a ballot, but I didn't. And I wondered if they knew that I was, and then I suddenly realized I'm registered independent. And so I'm not allowed to vote in the primaries. But I forgot that completely. But, I mean,
you're looking at the wrong end.
You should.
What'd you say, Bree?
I say you're looking at the wrong end. You're looking at the micro, but Trump looks at the macro, and his lawyers are, the two elections you got to look at are Gore Bush and Al Franken. Those will give you a lot of insights. But when you have someone who has a lot of money and a lot of lawyers and has all the evidence, my question is, when Kevin is done with it, he counts it, he sends it to somebody. At some point, there's somebody who has to certify them.
Kevin carries it to the office, and then Kevin watches it go into where they're counted, and then that's all public room. So you can sit there and watch it all happen. It's broadcasted on a big TV. You can see all the provisionals. You can see them actually looking at signatures. It's all on a big TV there, and you can sit there and watch it happening.
And they have to be certified by someone.
They're certified once all the counts are done. Yeah.
Okay, is that by the governor or the lieutenant
It's
governor?
by the state secretary.
You're trying to find some loophole here, aren't you, Bree?
What I'm saying is,
and the fact is, you're talking to an expert on this, somebody who actually does this.
Well, let me tell you, somebody who's I used to be a manager at a video store.
Yeah, well,
that never get the cash register.
Yeah,
right
that makes you qualified. That makes you qualified to run an election. Would you like to vote for Trump, or would you like a copy of Scarface?
Kevin's been Santa Claus. Come on.
No, I know what
you
you're
tell
talking
me it's
about.
perfect. I don't believe you, because the humans make
Yeah,
mistakes.
well, anyway.
It's like every.
You know who we haven't heard
prison
from
is perfect.
tonight is Charlie, who's got his hand up right now. Charlie?
Oh, forget what I was talking about. You changed the subject so many times. But, in Texas...
Because, of course, every election's been perfect.
Will
right,
you
Charlie?
let
I mean,
Charlie, please, will you let Charlie
that's what
say
he
what
wanted to talk.
Will you let Charlie say what he has to say? Charlie.
In Texas, you can't vote twice. If you've tried to vote twice, they'll find out immediately.
Yeah.
And you're committing a felony, and you'll go to jail.
Yeah. There's plenty
They'll
of...
shoot you.
Yeah.
And you also have to remember,
if you've already voted by mail, and you go, I don't care if it's next week. All right, so it's next week, but you're going to go to jail. You're going to tell me that millions of Trump people are going to get thrown in jail for voting twice just to help Donald Trump? No, they're not going to do that.
Right.
So what Trump is doing is just feeding the beast. He's trying to brainwash everybody into thinking that something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he's doing. He's setting it all up.
Yeah.
Evan has nailed it.
Right.
He's like Bela Lugosi in that movie Ed Wood, when Ed Wood goes to him after he's OD'd, and he goes, "Why are you talking to the press?" And he goes, any press is good press,
He's making everybody think. That's all.
Yeah,
He's
that's
just
Trump.
feeding the beast.
Anything. As long as he's out there, his name's out there, he doesn't
And
give a fuck.
if you look at Trump's history in New York, that's what he's always done.
Yeah.
The music is playing, ladies and gentlemen. The
La-di-da.
theme, the lovely and attractive theme song. And I want to thank our panel tonight. This has been really nice. Do you like this, Scott?
I love it.
And look at what we get as a bonus. We get Adrian to finish off the show.
Hey.
That's the happiest kid in the world. Yeah. First, thanks to Fred. Fred, we love having you here. Please, more of you. Charlie Wallace, always great to have you here. Robert Natali, nice having you as a regular. Jeff Stein, good friend, love having you here. Of course, John Larkin, under his various guises. Scott Boddicker, good to have you here. Huge Jassol, nice to have you here. Kevin, thanks, Bree. Really appreciate your input. And there is, of course, Brian. What? What'd you say?
He's talking her own language. Say good night.
Is that her own line? Good night, everybody. Wave goodbye to her. Okay, and I'll wave goodbye back at you. Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Okay, that's our citizen panel for tonight. Man, that's pretty terrific. It was a good show tonight. Really enjoyed everybody. We'll be back again tomorrow night, I guess. Yeah, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, stay tuned for Jack Bishop. He's next on Gabnet. And if you see her, tell her I love her. And by the way, stay safe out there and make sure you wear a mask. Bye.